Welcome to this week's edition of UCTV News. I'm Lindsey Kane.
And I'm Amanda Cabral.
Changes are on the horizon for UConn's undergraduate student government. Priyanka Thakkar and Manny Chinyumba have been named president and vice president of USG for the 2019-2020 academic year. Thakkar and Chinyumba knocked out their opponents with 2,093 votes, defeating running pairs Dylan DeMora and Matthew Zankowicz, who held 566 votes, and Fabio Sacamano and Talia Badi, who held 509 votes. Their victory comes despite a loss of nearly 200 votes to campaign violations. The Daily Campus said Thakkar plans to increase USG's public image and fix some of the budgetary issues.
3 UConn sophomores won the 2019 Wellness Case competition Friday for their proposal to reward students for attending various wellness programs on campus. The campus-wide competition concluded UConn's second annual Alcohol and Other Drugs Stakeholders Call to Action program, organized by the Department of Student Health and Wellness. The winning presentation was Wellness Points, proposed by Helen Bean, Catherine Zhu, and Ajdi Zulfi. UConn Today reports that Zhu said she looked at AOD statistics and realized she was part of the majority of college students who don't get proper nutrition or sufficient sleep and exercise.
UConn researchers are finding early successes in identifying potential new drugs that may be able to treat a wide range of conditions and diseases, thanks to a partnership that offers access to cutting-edge artificial intelligence technology and screening compounds. UConn Today reports that researchers are using artificial intelligence to develop therapeutic treatments for certain types of strokes, hand, foot, and mouth disease, and an infection that causes reproductive failure in pigs. A controversial event took place on Tuesday at the Student Union Theater when the organization Turning Point U.S.A. brought in speakers as part of their campus clash to challenge liberal politics. Luke Hydash has the story.
Tuesday night was a busy one here at the University of Connecticut Storrs campus, and political differences, they were at the forefront of conversation all night long. Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk, along with Candace Owens and Dave Rubin, they all came here to the Student Union Theater to have a discussion with students. And at the same time that event was held, another event was held across campus in Castleman entitled Stand Against Islamophobia and the Other Far Right.
Black people don't have to be Democrats.
Campus clash. The name may sound provoking, but UConn Turning Point President Joe Gotti says the event was held to help spark spirited, respectful political discussion.
And that dialogue is to have a discussion in politics on issues that matter to everyone in this community. And as every member of this community, I love to have the opportunity to invite them here to be able to participate in this discussion.
Attendees were excited to hear a fresh perspective.
I guess their ideas on, being in Connecticut, which is a very, I'd say, biased state.
I'm just hoping to hear an interesting conversation. That's really it.
Others say an event like this has no place at UConn.
Hate speech should not be protected by the First Amendment, especially on college campuses where it's supposed to be a safe and inclusive environment for students of all faiths, backgrounds, race, sexual identity. But, tonight our administration completely violated that.
Event organizers disagree.
I don't believe that these speakers here represent those values that these other organizations unfortunately feel.
Now, just hours before she came here to the University of Connecticut tonight to speak, Candace Owens was testifying in Washington, D.C. before the House Judiciary Committee as part of a hearing on the rise of white nationalism. For UCTV News, I'm Luke Hydash.
Connecticut is issuing a statewide bear advisory. State environmental officials sent out a warning Monday about the continued growth of the state's bear population and an increase in bear activity as spring weather approaches. The Department of Energy and Environmental Protection reported approximately 9,200 bear sightings from 153 of Connecticut's 169 towns in 2018. Connecticut residents are warned to follow simple steps to avoid problems with black bears, such as never feeding the bears, supervising dogs at all times when outside, and keeping barbecue grills clean.
This year's UConn Gives fundraiser raised a record-breaking $400,000, which is $100,000 more than last year's event. The money raised from the charity will be used to fund student groups, scholarships, athletics, and research.
Mayor Bill de Blasio of New York City declared a public health emergency on Tuesday. After months of fighting cases of measles in Brooklyn, the city decided that the risk posed by the disease was getting too high and required unvaccinated individuals to receive the vaccine. The epicenter of the outbreak seems to be centered around ultra-Orthodox Jewish communities in Williamsburg. People in violation of the order would be fined for non-compliance, although the goal, according to de Blasio, is simply to prevent a larger-scale infection. Ever wonder what life is like in the ROTC? It's more than just team-building exercises and a way to get free college tuition. Oliver Simon tells us more.
Good afternoon. I'm Oliver Simon, standing on top of Horse Barn Hill at the University of Connecticut. When people drive down 195, they look across the way to see this beautiful view behind me. But what many don't understand is that to the UConn Army ROTC program, this view is not so beautiful.
UConn cadets conduct physical training every morning at 0600 sharp at various locations throughout UConn's campus. Horse Barn Hill is one of those training sites. Between the sprints, the low crawls, and the ruck marches, cadets don't look at the quarter-mile hill with the same level of excitement as others driving through campus. Rather, they look back on the difficult snow marches they had to endure in sub-freezing conditions. The physical training is only part of a UConn cadets training regimen. They are also expected to attend classes as a full-time college student and participate in weekly field training exercises. This is all to prepare for evaluations in advanced camp at Fort Knox, and ultimately, to prepare to commission as a second lieutenant in the United States Army. Ann Allen is the Cadet Battalion Commander of UConn Army ROTC, and she knows exactly how difficult it is to balance both the stresses of ROTC and her schoolwork.
It's so structured that if you don't have good time management skills, you're not going to do well. So ROTC, you have to get up, you have to PT, and then you need to make sure you allot enough time to study and do ROTC stuff and do extracurriculars. So it's really figuring out that balance that works for you.
While balancing the expectations of the Army and the university can be demanding at times, UConn cadets find ways to persevere. One true test of perseverance is the combat water survival test that cadets must pass before graduating. While a blindfolded 3-meter drop looks daunting, it is only one small requirement among many others that cadets must fulfill before becoming officers. Lieutenant Colonel Christopher Morris is the UConn Army ROTC department head. He has served in the Army for over 20 years, and his responsibility here at UConn is to prepare the cadets to be successful leaders when they arrive at their units. There are several key things he looks for when evaluating future lieutenants.
The two areas that I value the most, probably in a prospective lieutenant, is curiosity and energy. The ability to be able to sit back and know the stuff that you don't know, but then have the energy to go out and find a solution or find an answer. If you lack the curiosity, then more than likely you're not going to go out and look for people's input to try to help make your situation better, help make the mission more successful, things like that.
Lieutenant Colonel Morris and the rest of the UConn Army ROTC staff certainly ensure their cadets possess these traits, as UConn's ROTC program stacks up well against other programs nationwide. Lieutenant Colonel Morris said that at cadet summer training, about 85% of UConn cadets end up in the top half of their platoon. Other schools average about 50% of their cadets in the top half of a platoon. To add to these numbers, roughly 90% of UConn's graduating class gets one of their top 3 branch choices on a yearly basis, which is also above the national average.
UConn students might not get up early enough to see the work that their cadets put in, but they represent the school well on the national scale. I'm Oliver Simon with the UConn News, signing off.
breaking the bank at the pumps. Fuel on Monday, that's when you'll get the cheapest cost. According to Gas Buddy's data, Connecticut is one of 30 states where gas is cheapest on Monday, with prices rising through the week. The most expensive day, that would be Saturday, and prices are expected to continue rising. The average cost of gas nationwide is up to $2.74, according to AAA Allied Group, up almost 30 cents since last month. As the busy summer driving season approaches and refineries switch to a more expensive summer blend, drivers could expect increasing costs to fuel up. Gas price should peak come Memorial Day weekend.
They're getting schooled in bribery. Actress Lori Loughlin and 14 other parents were charged with money laundering as well as bribery Tuesday in the biggest college admissions scandal in the country, according to a report by the Connecticut Post. This comes after actress Felicity Huffman and 12 other parents pled guilty to conspiracy to commit mail fraud and honest mail services fraud. The federal hearing was held in Boston.
The CDC is warning Americans about the Candida auris, or superbug, in Connecticut. This superbug is a multi-drug resistant fungus and can be deadly. There has been a confirmed case in Connecticut in the past, though this case is no longer active. According to WFSB, there have been about 600 cases nationwide, and over half of those were in New York. A man died from the fungus after an abdominal surgery at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York last year. The fungus is difficult to identify and can only be identified through a lab test. The state of Connecticut is at a crossroads on highway tolls. The Hartford Courant reports that the annual cost of a round-trip daily commute from Hartford to New Haven at rush hour would be over $800. But toll supporters say that without revenue from tolling all cars and trucks, an estimated $800 million annually by the Governor's Office for Critical Repairs and Upgrades of State Highways and Bridges won't get refunded. Details from Sarah Maddox.
Connecticut drivers may need to pay for more than just gas while driving on the highway. Brace yourself for the likely comeback of tolls. The bills backed by Governor Ned Lamont just passed another important legislative committee vote. A recent Department of Transportation study says tolls will exist every 6.6 miles on highways and routes across the state, including Interstates 85, 91, and 84.
I'm completely against them. I don't think they should be doing tolls. I think if our government managed the funds that they got properly, there's a lot of things they could do with that money.
Connecticut drivers would pay 5.5 cents a mile during rush hour and about a cent less during off hours. A Hartford resident would pay over $800 a year to commute to New Haven. But not everybody thinks paying more to drive on the highway is a bad thing.
If it helps, to repair the roads, sometimes they're in poor condition, I think that would be good.
Commuters would benefit from a discount on toll prices, while drivers of heavy trucks would pay the most. A Connecticut trucker would pay almost $25 to drive across the state during rush hour.
Once you start putting in tolls, I think it's a bad look for the state.
The study done by the Department of Transportation showed that tolls could create $1 billion a year in revenue for the state of Connecticut. I'm Sarah Maddox for UCTV News.
That does it for us here tonight at UCTV News.
Be sure to follow us on our Instagram at UCTV Channel 14 and tune in next week for another episode of UCTV News.